welcome to Town Church Kids on Sunday online. It's fantastic to have you here, and well done for making it over from the main service channel on YouTube. It's been a very interesting time trying to work out how to use all these computers. I think you guys are probably better at it than I am, but it's fantastic to be able to join together today. Now, James with the grown-ups is going to be talking to them about a book from the New Testament called Philippians, and it's a letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to Christians in a church there. And we're going to be looking at a really small section of that letter over the next few weeks. But it's really important for this time when we might be feeling a little bit worried about things, or things are just changing and we're having to think about how we feel because we're not going to school or playgroup, or we're not able to see our friends in the same sort of way. Well, hopefully your mum and dad will have had something sent through on email which looks a bit like this. And this is our verse for today that we're going to be thinking about. And this is what the grown-ups are going to think about as well. And it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice." And that comes from the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 4. It's quite an easy one to remember. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Now, if you want to, you could maybe colour that in after the service today, or at some point later in the week. Stick it on your fridge, stick it up somewhere where you can see it. Maybe see if you can learn those words, because they're a really good one to remember. And Paul goes on to say in the book of Philippians that we shouldn't worry about things. If things change, if we can't do the things that we normally do, if we're feeling a bit upset and unsettled, we need not to worry about those things, but rather we need to talk to God about them. And God promises that He will give us His peace. And that's an amazing promise. But today we're thinking about rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And I wonder what the word rejoice means. It's kind of a word we don't use very often, but you might have heard the word joy or the word celebrate. We certainly do lots of celebrating for birthdays and for Christmas, and basically anything that we can get away with celebrating, we'll celebrate. And when we can come together as a church after this time of being in lockdown with coronavirus, that'll certainly be something that we celebrate. But we can rejoice, we can celebrate God always, because He is God and He's in charge and He's amazing. And I would like you to go and do something for me right now. Okay, we're going to find some things in our house that we can celebrate with. So don't go yet. So I want you to whiz off and in 2 minutes see if you can find things to celebrate or to praise God with in your house. Now, it might be a scarf or a streamer or something that you can make some noise with, or you might be able to come up with far more imaginative ideas than I can here. But you've got 2 minutes and I'll see you back here. 2 minutes up. I hope you managed to find some things and have a really good hunt around. It'd be worth having a look around later and see if you can find some things that you might have missed. Now, things that we found today, we found some maracas. Always great for making some noise. Bells. The Mickey hands. Praise God with the Mickey hands. A couple of scarves for waving. And some rainbow coloured streamers which we've got. Now you can always make some of these at home. Maybe mum has got some ribbon somewhere, or just different coloured wool or string, or even you could just cut different strips of paper that you paint up and just fix them together at the end. And it will give you something for praising God with. And now it's time to go over to Jemima for this week's challenge.
Your challenge this week is to see how many reasons you can think of why we can celebrate that Jesus is Lord. You have 1 minute. On your marks, get set, go.
How did you get on? You probably thought of very similar ones to the ones that we've thought of, and I'll read those out in a sec. But if you've thought of other ones that I've missed today, maybe you could email them in to me later on. That would be fantastic. The ones we thought of today were, we thought that God is in charge, and that's a reason that we can celebrate and rejoice. God always keeps his promises, and we see that so many times in the Bible, how God keeps his promises to people. God made the whole world and is just amazing. God is powerful, and probably the biggest one of all, God loves us. And they're all great reasons why we can rejoice that Jesus is Lord. Now, I've had a really good question given to me by one of my children, and that question is, how do I rejoice if I'm feeling sad or worried? And that's a brilliant question, because we don't always feel happy. We don't always feel like we really want to celebrate something. And things happen in life that do make us feel sad and do make us feel worried. And things happen to your mummies and daddies and to your grandma and grandpa that make them feel sad and make them feel worried. And that's okay. But God always stays the same. And he wants us to talk to him about how we're feeling. And the Bible tells us that because he listens to us and he loves us, he promises that he will give us his peace. And that was in the passage that we read earlier on today. We need to talk to him about the things that we're worried about if we're getting a bit anxious about things. And he promises that he will give us his amazing peace. And that's a reason that we can be joyful and we can celebrate. We might not feel happy, but we can still rejoice that God is in charge of the whole world and that he loves us. Now, in just a minute, we're going to go back over to the main service and join together for the end of it. But before we do, I've got 2 things just to talk to you about. The first one is, if you've got any questions that you want us to talk about or to answer during these times as Town Church kids online on a Sunday, then email them, I don't know if you can see that, to katie@townchurch.org.je. Okay, and it'd be fantastic to have some of your questions and things like that. And the other thing, which is really exciting, is that on Thursday at 3:30, we've got our first Town Church Kids Online, TCK Online. And we're going to be meeting via Zoom so that we can all be together and we can all see each other and we can all talk to each other. And we're going to have a quiz. We're going to see how people have been doing, what people have been up to. We're going to have a joke of the day. So if you've got a good joke, please bring it with you. That would be fantastic. And we'll have a Bible story as well. And we'll just meet together and we'll have a chat about the things we might like to do at that time. So I'm hoping that you're going to be able to come and join me at 3:30 on Thursday on Zoom. The email that your mums and dads got with their newsletter from church this week has all the details. If you've lost it, just give me an email and I will send the details across again. And now we're all going to go back over to the main service, but remember to bring all your things to celebrate and praise God with you for the last song.